Welcome to the Wine Club, episode 7. First, a huge shout out to you, the listener. The Wine Club has amassed a staggering 1,200 listens in 6 weeks of being born. So thank you to you, the listener. Podcasts are not easy. Today's guest has been mentioned already, not once, but twice on 2 separate previous episodes, and is none other than Ben Grove. Ben has ridden for the likes of Blueprint skateboards, Unabomber skateboards, Vans shoes, and Supreme shoes, to name but a few, and shares some great tales in this interview. Roll the tape.
Who are you guys working for?
Who is this?
It's SkateWine.
Oh, beautiful.
Did you say SkateWine?
Yes, sir.
Hello, welcome to episode 7, I believe, and we've got an absolute special British living legend guest on today. I welcome and present to you Ben Grove. How are you, Ben Grove?
Who am I, you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. It's an absolute honour to have you on.
Oh, mate, nice one, man. Pleasure.
Straight off the bat, as I've been asking everyone, and I know that you like to have a beer. If you were a wine bottle or a beverage, what kind of beverage would you describe yourself as?
Well, I've got a glass of wine because I'm SkateWine.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I don't know, I like all beverages. So, bottle of Buckfast. Bottle of Buckfast or something.
Doesn't Buckfast have caffeine in it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
That's a perfect representation of yourself. How are you? You good?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Just been just grafting, mate. Been grafting all day. Looking over a beach. It's not bad.
Yes.
Not bad.
Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in a Luggan in Cornwall, but I'm working. It's about half an hour drive from here. It's some guy's place, doing it up for him, doing a big balcony thing that looks over the beach. It's pretty chilling.
Nice. But you aren't originally from Cornwall, are you?
No. I've lived everywhere, mate. To be honest with you, absolutely everywhere.
Whereabouts did you start your skateboarding?
With skateboarding, it was at Stockport, really. I suppose Stockport
okay.
Skate Park. Yeah. Skating there. Yeah, Bones in Stockport, man. Didn't really. I think I had a board when I was a kid, like a Toys R Us pink thing with a case and that. And then, I was about 13 years old or something when I fully got into skating.
So you only started skating when you were 13. That's quite late on. So how long was the progression from being 13 to when you first got your first sponsor?
I think it's probably about under a year or something. I won my first comp within first year of me skating. Went to Bristol for a weekend, and it was the PlayStation competition, and they were having them all around the country. So there was one at Bolton. I think the one I went to was at Park and Ride in Bristol. Went down in the little mini with Ted and Dyke, 2 guys from Malvern. I used to see my dad once a fortnight, and they lived in Malvern. So I ended up going to the qualifier and ended up winning in Bristol Park and Ride. And that's with me, Dan Wildman, Justin Parker, and remember Oscar Laguna?
No, I don't remember Oscar.
Yeah, I can't remember his phone. He was mad. He had mad hands, like blood variations on quarters and all that. And we went to PlayStation in London. We won it basically. We won a PlayStation 2 for £500, and then I think I got a note after that competition. So
wow.
I was like, yeah, it's pretty, yeah, man, pretty quick.
What got you into skateboarding? Like, why did you start skateboarding?
2 Australian kids moved in not far from where I lived. You know what I mean? Like, used to go. They moved to where I was, and they were skating. And I just I don't know. Just ended up getting aboard. You know what I mean? Just got well in with these guys. You know what I mean? These 2 Aussie dudes, and then the rest is history. Really, just got the bug. You know what I mean?
Who were the Aussie guys? Who were they?
Rob and James. They're just 2 lads who moved from Australia with their family. I think they're living back in Australia now. I've not seen them for years, mate. But they just, like I say, they were skating. There was a little precinct where we used to, go and fucking get, pissed and fucking, just, you know what I mean? Like Friday nights, precincts like when you were a kid. And then just that they were skating. We used to skate the precinct and just have these balls, concrete balls, and just try and ollie, or just eventually could learn to get over them and stuff like that. It was
Whereabouts did you meet these guys? Was it back in Stockport then, was it?
No, it's near Stockport, a place called Holmes Chapel. It's where I moved. Like moved to. I went to primary school and that. Well, the last couple of years of primary school, went to secondary school there. Yeah, a long time ago, mate. Mental.
And what was your like favourite thing to skate back then? What did you start off with skateboarding? Was it just that spot with the Aussies and then?
We started going up to. I mean, I go to my dad's once a fortnight, so that's when I go. I go street skates. There's loads of Malverns like built on Seven Hills. You know what I mean? Like San Francisco. You know what I mean? I think the Malvern and Sheffield are like that, just dead hilly places used to go. I skate there. There used to be a place called the Winter Gardens, and I just used to live at Bones. Literally, just like go there for the weekend. And I met Tony De Silva and the Crew York boys. Yeah, so literally just live and breathe Bones Skate Park. Do you know what I mean? Used to bunk school and get on the train and go there.
No way. So you were more of a park skater when you started off skateboarding then?
Yeah. The only reason I think, well, yeah, pretty much. And then we got banned from Bones Stockport. We got banned like there's this dude, these brothers Matt and Charlie, who they were like nephews of the guy who owned the park. All the dudes, the original dudes, like John Kennedy and Ross Gray. Like John Kennedy's he's a real good musician, DJ, top skater. He used to work in now. They used to love that park, look after it. And they got the boot, and these two idiots who didn't skate and all that, they're just interested in chatting up the underage girls and just, you know what I mean, just dressed as cars and that. I mean, like proper just. But anyway, long story short, we got banned. All of us got banned from there, so we had to start hitting the streets. That's when I got into street.
So how old were you when you started skating street then?
It wasn't that long. It was probably about, I don't know, about 13, 14. Do you know what I mean? I was still going Bones. I might be wrong with the ages here. It might be like 12, 13. It's around them 12, 13, 14 years. I can't like, sort of blended into one sort of back then, isn't it? Yeah, man.
So who was your first sponsor then? Did you get picked up when you went to the Bristol skateboarding competition, or was it a progress from?
There was a guy, Chris, who had a skate shop in Worcester called Spine. Chris Braun. He had a skate shop, and he sort of gave me a couple of little bits. Do you know what I mean? He gave me like a board and some bits, stickers for an old Zorlak blank, and but then I basically won that PlayStation comp and went back to Note and Splodge. Hooked me up basically, put me on Note. So that was the first one.
How old were you then?
It was 99 when the shop first started. So 15 or something. Yeah, 85. Yeah, 15, man. Maths, mate. 15. no, 15, 14, 99. Yeah, it's around that 14, 15, something.
What was your next sponsor after Note then? Did you start getting flow through Note?
I was on Note, and then I started getting stuff from a guy, Stu Ford, who did a company called Scientist Clothing. He used to make beanies. He was on Rad years ago. Dayton and them lot went up to he had a skate park. He won't say a skate park. He built concrete. Dayton had a pivot fakie on this mad steep court. It was in Colwyn Bay in North Wales.
Okay.
So he used to put on jams underneath this old Safeway car park. You go, Russ Weasel from Liverpool does the Mersey Grit. That's when I first met him, and like there was Lewis Fred Gold. Like used to go there. Used to go and stay in Rill a lot on Zombie Stew. Don't know if you know Zombie Stew.
No.
But yeah, there's loads of mad heads. Like me, Tony De Silva, and the Crew York boys, Rick and Razza, and all them lot used to go to get the train to Colwyn Bay. It's basically a bit like Rill's a bit, it's like Blackpool, North Wales. It's pretty rough and rugged. Like you get all the Scousers and the Manx on holiday there, and it'd be just skateboard. There weren't that many skateboarders back then going there. Do you know what I mean? So it was pretty rough.
When did you start throwing yourself down big stair sets and stuff? Was that from coming out of the park straight away, or was that a progression as well?
I always used to jump off the, the mini ramps, off the side of the mini ramps and whatever's, high. I always used to jump off bus shelters and stuff. I used to love Frank Steve, watching Frank Stevens with his, jumping off bus shelters. And yeah, so I think actually when I was with that Stu Ford from Scientist, I jumped this big set of stairs in Rail, the Sun Life Centre stairs. I think Jordan Sharkey flipped over the rail, like first go, massive set of stairs, like But he's from that way. I think he's from Chester, Jordan. But yeah, I ollied the stairs first, you know what I mean, years ago, and Stu did there's a little advert in Sidewalk, and just ollieing them. You know, I was on a shorties board, I remember it. So I always chuck myself off stuff, do you know what I mean?
What skaters were you influenced by when you were skating in like Bones and the Stockport area? Who was like your inspiration?
Woody always used to go down there. Gary Woodward, he was a hero, do you know what I mean? South African Mike, SA Mike, he used to up at Bolton Skate Park. Andy Scott, used to love obviously Vaughan Baker, like, cause I used to go. My dad's at weekend as well, once a fortnight. So Vaughan lived a few doors down from my dad. So I was like, yeah, he used to go knock on his door for trainers and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Little annoying kid, ball bagging him at the skate park. And those good mates, pretty much bullied me way to his, little annoying kid. Now he's a good pal.
That's so funny. I've seen that you've been posted a few times by Vaughan on the old Instagram. You used to skate with Vaughan quite a bit when you were younger.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think it was forced. I think so. I used to just follow him around. You know, when he turned up at the skate park, and like I say, it was yeah. I used to skate with Vaughan a lot, and then progressed on to skating with him. You know what I mean? Some Blueprint and that.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk about like being that kid and being like, oh, I want product, and you want to go and skate with Vaughan, and then
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it's mad. Yeah, I say it's heroes. You know, when you're a kid, like Vaughan's, my favourite skater. I was when a kid and always still is now. He's my favourite skater. Still try and get skates in with him. So, he's got just a little kid now, isn't he? So I was up there the other day watching the footy while he was holding his little kid. It's pretty mad. Phaedra. But yeah, it's pretty. He lives down here now as well in Cornwall. He's in Falmouth. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's moving down to Cornwall.
I know, man. Yeah, spending it. Based in the north down here. It's funny.
So you've been already mentioned in the 6 episodes I've done so far. You've already been mentioned twice by 2 different people. Eddie Belvedere mentioned you. How old were you when you met Eddie?
It must be about 14, something like that. Because I met him at Bones. I remember when I first met him at Bones in Bolton. The other one.
Okay.
At Stockport Bones and Bolton Bones. And Eddie, I remember Eddie's proper, short back and sides, like Zangief haircut, he was proper judo, wasn't he? I remember him to the bottom of the vert ramp. He was practicing nose manies and the manual pad on the bottom of the vert ramp. Do you know what I mean? I remember, never forget that day. I remember, when I first properly met him, I think.
Doesn't surprise me that he's at the bottom of the vert ramp doing nose manuals.
Yeah. Well, he's all terrain though, isn't he now? Been all terrain forever, mate, Eddie.
That is true. And so, did you skate with Eddie quite a lot after that? Or was that?
Yeah, I think, our paths always crossed, but I think we're more proper started skating with Eddie streetwise. I think was when I moved back I moved to Sheffield when I was about 18.
Okay.
And I moved back from there. Yeah, I was living in Moss Side. And we always used to skate back, literally when was it about 18? Yeah, 18. Yeah, probably 18, 19. We're fucking out. We were, out street skating and out fucking partying. Like, you know what I mean? Always out skating.
Was Sheffield was that a skate decision? Was that a skate related decision to move over that way?
I think so. Well, yeah, it was because it was when Sumo was there. It was a bit of a skateboarding mecca at the time, Sheffield. I mean, it isn't, it's because I just got Blueprint. It's where sort of like a lot of the riders lived, and it seems, Ches was living there, and Baines lives there, and it just seems, as I say, everyone sort of seemed to go. All the big tours were going there, Dev Green and that, and it was just big mecca of skateboarding in Sheffield. There's a lot of good spots and a lot of top skateboarders, amazing skateboarders come out of there, aren't there?
You moved to Sheffield when you were 18. The first time I saw you was on the Blueprint video, and would you believe it, as a ramp and transition skater. When you were in Sheffield, was that when you got on Blueprint?
I think I was around that time. I think, no, it must have been about 17. So I was living at home when I was living at home doing my apprenticeship and that, and then 18. It's probably about, I've been on there about a year. So I think it's like that Blueprint Belong tour was like the sort of tester to get on, do you know what I mean? It was me, Smithy and John Fisher, and it was like, that was our first thing, and it was trial, if you know what I mean. So that's what I suppose it felt like, if you know what I mean.
So you managed to get on Blueprint in the space of 4 years, if my maths is correct, from starting skateboarding to then being on the Belong tour.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's
It's pretty mental.
amazing. That's
I never
insane.
thought. Yeah, wow.
So then, where did you go from Sheffield? Then you went back to Stockport.
No, I moved back to I moved to Manchester then.
Okay.
So it was always, I say, we used to go into town a little bit street skating, but I say it was mainly I say Bones and Bolton. Because all the tours were happening, and we did a lot of street. We filmed for the Note video, like so. We sort of hit up. I was always in Manchester at the Gasworks and skating with Joe, filming with Sayo, who's Standby Productions. He did the first Note video, which took about 3 years to film, and so I suppose like it was. I think it came out in 2001, so yeah, 3 years it took us to film from the shop opening, but it was epic hour-and-a-half video. Do you know what I mean?
Was that the first video you appeared in as like a professional skater?
Well, I wasn't professional then. It was like amateur, I
Still
suppose.
amateur.
There's like my second part. It was my first proper part, but I had Si made a video called Territory 2, and I always used to call it Tyranny 2 because I can't read properly. It was Territory 2, and yeah, that was my first part. It was all filmed at Stockport Bones.
I was gonna say, was there street in it? It was park skating.
It was first street footage in there, like stuff at Bridgewater Handrail and a bit of the courts in Manchester wearing some Adidas shell bottoms and Converse Chinese Yen Coins and the skinhead. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So then you moved back to Manchester. So was that when you started skating with Eddie then, when you were in Manchester?
Yeah, properly going out the street and that. Yeah, going out filming, but like I can't really remember that. I know we've always skated together, like sort of always our paths have always crossed and we always hung out. You know what I mean? And
So were you there in Manchester on the move back? I'm assuming that was around the time that Blueprint, did it get sold on to America at that point?
no, I'd left Blueprint.
Before
I think yeah, I left before it changed. My video part come out on Lost and Found, and I think it wasn't long after I left to go on Unabomber. Like I got asked by Harry and
Okay.
Frank and Sylvester and that. That's the reason why I quit the job. I remember I was with Frank and Paul Sylvester in Leeds. And I rang up work and I sort of quit. Like, my old boss who I used to work with, Gordon, did an apprenticeship in carpentry and joinery for the council. He always just stare at me. He's like, "What are you doing this for?" It's like, cause I was skating, and like, I was always off. I think within 2 weeks of me starting that job, I went to Barcelona. I booked a trip to Barcelona, so I started this job. I was like, it was 2 weeks in. I was like, I'm going to Barcelona for a week. I'm like, what? I'm going skating, and basically, this guy always backs me. He's like, go and live your life, man. You know what I mean? You only got one do it. So yeah, I rang up and quit.
That's
Give me
amazing.
2 years. Yeah.
It's good to have someone that's like so positive as a boss, because that is generally like skateboarding, but especially back then was definitely not seen as like a career.
I don't think they properly got it till they see me getting photos in magazines and stuff like that. So I was getting, I think I got a cover when I was still working there, and like they were just like, "What are you doing here? Go off and go and do it." Because I was always ringing up on Monday. Can't come in because I was fucking broken this or fucking missed the train, got stuck in Bristol, or like I always remember there was loads of train strikes on back then. Always constantly stuck at Stafford train station or somewhere, or Birmingham. You know what I mean? Like ringing up, so I've nothing work to do.
Was the cover on Sidewalk?
Yeah. It was it was my first cover at Sidewalk. Yeah. So,
What year was that?
2003.
What was the decision behind moving from Blueprint to Unabomber? Was it because Unabomber made you pro?
Well, that was no, that was like one of the reasons. But the reason was like I was obsessed with, like when I was a kid. Like I say, Vaughan's one of my heroes. Like the Unabomber promo and Frank Stevens. I met Frank when we were filming for the Sidewalk video in Motion. When we met him in Malaga. Just like all those guys, that team: Harry, Vaughan, Alan Rushbrook. Obviously, Rushbrook and Mark Chandler were involved. But with this, because they were restarting it, Harry was redoing it, and so it was me, Paul Sylvester and Frank. So I was just like, Frank's, the original Terry Tough Tits, isn't he? You know what I mean? So that's why I take my top off, because Frank always used to remember him like top off, like, so he was one of my heroes, and it was like they were asking me to come skate for it. Like, yeah, too right.
He's the guy with the big hair, right?
Yeah, Frank, yeah, man. God up.
I remember him from the Sidewalk Day in the City. Did you ever do a Day in the City?
I think we did. Yeah, we did one. Yeah, me and Tom Watts. Yeah, me and Tom Watts did a day in the city. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Day in the City 2 or 3. I've noticed that's all going on social media at the moment, hasn't it? There's a Day in the Cities.
I was probably about 13 or 14, I think, at the time. And I used to love, even though I wouldn't ever proclaim myself as a street skater, I used to love the day in the cities because of the fact that it was a bit like the King of the Road now. You had like a sheet that you had to go and do challenges and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think King of the Road was even around then, was it? Was it? No, it wasn't, was it?
Was that fun then?
Yeah, no, as well. I remember doing that Day in the City one. I think, yeah, it was me and Tom Watts, and I can't remember the guy who was filming it. I think it was the guy who filmed the Unipromo video that we made, Unabomber, Urban Mob, Matt Holly. Yeah, I remember I'd been on we'd come from somewhere as the end of some mad, as well as constant skate trip back then. But I remember just being absolutely done in, but like enjoying it. But just like I've been on the road for like a couple of months and not been home or nothing, like living out of a bag. So it's like the last slug. I mean, for a nice hot bath at home.
And I don't want to. I've got so many questions for you from the Instagram questions I put out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I think someone mentioned that you were possibly one of the first British pros to be on. So you were pro for Blueprint and Unabomber, if I am correct in thinking.
No, I've never turned pro for Blueprint.
Okay.
It's after the Lost and Found come out, and then I left after that.
How long were you on Unabomber for then?
At least 3 or 4 years, I think.
Did they do a video whilst you're on Unabomber?
Yeah, we did Urban Mob. We filmed it in 6 months, man.
I have to watch that one.
Yeah, you never seen Urban Mob?
I don't think I have.
Well, Urban Mob's an anagram of Unabomber. Urban Mob.
That's wicked.
Harry did that, man. It's good. We filmed it in 6 months. I remember it was when I first met Tom Watts. He'd come up to my house. We used to get together every single weekend. We'd have the whole team together every single weekend, and then boom, we did the video. I filmed a lot of it. So I had my VX and that, and yeah, man, it was good. It's good times. But yeah, so bang that out in 6 months, man. I think it's a pretty banging video. Like, yeah, check it out.
Was that mostly street as well?
All street, yeah.
All street.
I think there's I've got tricks in like Middlesbrough Bowl, and I've got a few, I've got bowls, a few transition tricks in there. But yeah, I think the majority of it's all street. And I think it's all filmed in the UK, and then Ben Powell pointed out there's only one line. Frank does a line in Barcelona. I think the majority of Frank's section. I think there's a bit in Brussels, but the majority is in the UK. That
was what I wanted to mention. Is in the Blueprint video, which I feel horrible for not remembering the name. What was the first Blueprint video you appeared in?
I've only been in one, Lost and Found.
So I had Lost and Found. I had a bootleg version of Lost and Found on DVD, and I remember they had an extras part, which was the director's cut, and I think it was one of the first videos I'd ever heard of them talking over the video. And I think I watched it. I must have watched it with that director's cut over the top. And being a transition skater and mainly doing grabs, I think you were I'm certain, if my memory serves me correctly, you were the only person in the whole video who had a grab, and I think it was a stalefish.
Yeah, yeah. He comments on it, so the only grab in the video. That
exactly.
I'm pretty sure Vaughan does. He has a couple of transition tricks. Like, I'm not sure if he grabs it though. Maybe he doesn't. Yeah, because he does a flip out. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think he's the only grab. Yeah.
because that I remember watching that, and like as a transition skater being back then, used to get so much stick for being a transition skater and not a street skater because it was cool back then. I mean, it's cool now. Yeah. And I just remember being like, I don't know who this Ben Grove person is, but I love him because he did a grab in the Blueprint video, and that's all I was doing at the time.
Yeah, good old stalefish, man. I can't. Yeah. Do like a stalefish.
What happened after Unabomber then? Because Unabomber finished, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I like reasons I just left basically. Like, I left and I don't know what I was doing at the time. I think I was just flipping in party mode then. So I think the Unabomber I moved to London for a bit. I did about 8 months in Camden. Lived in 8 months, almost killed me, so I got out of there quick. Moved back to Manchester and went my separate ways with Unabomber and that, and I think I was just going out all the time, but then really.
So you weren't on another board sponsor at that point then?
No. I wasn't on a board sponsor for a bit. I think it was just I was splodged from Note. We did me like a board, like a note board. It's Champagne Super Grover, so champagne bottle, and they did that. Matt Carroll, who I had like a Grove's vinegar, like a Sarson's bottle. And Matt Cowley did all the Happy Mondays graphics, all the designs for all the Happy Mondays stuff, and did a collab board with him. Yeah, and then I think started working with Jamie from Zuki Bomber, doing the Zuki stuff.
And then, so you moved back to Manchester. Now, I'm wondering, because I'm trying to make sure that I don't miss out between you moving back to Manchester and then moving down to Cornwall. I remember it was just at the time, probably at the peak of my skateboarding. I was 20 and I went to the Kerrang skateboarding competition in Creation. I think that was the first time I'd actually met you and spoke to you. I remember being back then being like, wow, this is Ben Grove. And I think I entered the same competition as you possibly. No, you were there for the demo. I think you were the demo because I managed to come, I think I came third in that street competition.
Yeah, I think, it was I remember it was a Chris Vile there as well. We were doing a demo. I think Christian Stevenson.
Exactly.
At Vans, I was on Van Zone, yeah. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
That was the first time I met you, I believe. And literally the day after that, I went down to Rock Park to do a demo. And that was when I destroyed my shoulder and it put me out of skating for a couple of years. But that was kind of the peak. That was kind of what I see as my peak of skateboarding. And I just remember seeing you ollie from there was it's not there anymore, but there was a jump box kind of setup, which had the landing quarter pipe on top, which was already probably about 7 foot. And I'll never forget you. I don't know whether I've got it on video, but I'll never forget you ollieing off of the quarter first of all. And I was like, that's massive. That's 7 foot. It's huge. And then I think you were melon grabbing from the wrong way from the quarter pipe down into the street course, which must have been about 8 or 9 feet. And you landed it in the end. It was in the demo, I believe.
Right, okay. I don't remember it at all, man. For goodness sake, those days we used to go to Moseley as well, because that's where it was. Was it Epic Skate Park?
No, it was Creation in Birmingham.
Aussie Ben, he used to get third foot and that. He used to live across the road. That's where me. So it was for those days when I was on me and Woodley and fucking used to be mash. I was probably well pissed back then. And literally, I just remember you used to get the train there the weekend and stay in Birmingham and just skate all day and then up to the pub up the road and madness. I'm
gonna have to let the video out because I'm almost certain I've got a memory.
I can't remember it.
I'm gonna have to see if I can look out the video for you because I'm almost certain that I've got that melon grab on unless it's just in my memory, but I'm almost certain that I filmed it because it was actually around that time that I started getting into filming as well.
Right.
So a massive one I've missed out, and because of Christian Stevenson being the person that ran that Kerrang, what age were you when you got on Vans? Because you were on Vans, weren't you?
I was on Savia originally. That was my first shoe sponsor. That's what a lot to say. Fan could big up to Cubic. Cubic, he got me. I was originally got on Shiner. Actually, I forgot about. Yeah, I was on Shiner, and I was getting Think and Venture trucks, and then Savia, and then Savia went under, and I remember Christian Stevenson rang me up, and he wanted to put me on Vans. So it must have been probably 18, mate. It's probably about 18 when I got on Vans, and I was on them for about Vans for 10, 11 years. Yeah, I was on Vans for 10, 11 years, man.
Because we've got a question in from somebody about the Vans tour. So you did the Vans tour in the
Which
bus.
one?
I think it was the. Oh yeah, exactly.
Are we there yet? So yeah. The Pauli organised when Pauli was team manager, and that Tez was driving the bus. Yeah, man, it was good times. That 2007.
2007. Was it good?
Yeah, mate, that was best. 2007, mate. It was a good year. Good year for.
What parks did you visit on that tour?
Oh, what didn't we visit? The Works. We went to every park. What's the Arcade in up north? Northeast. Can't remember where it is now. What's the place called by the beach? The factory on the beach. Wrigley Scott's from there. That's why Aliens is based on. Oh, what's it called now? South Shields.
Oh,
South
yeah.
Shields. Not South Shields. Red Car. So that's what. Yeah, so that's where Wrigley Scott's from. The skate park there. I'm sure we went up to Glasgow Green, Newquay. I can't remember where else we went. We went all over. So we went up to Glasgow, Leeds, Red Car. I can't remember where else. I know we ended up in Newquay. So that was the last. I can't remember where else we went. We went all over, didn't we?
Wait, was that? I wanted to bring in and ask you about the ollie over that double stair in Newquay. Was that when you did it?
Yeah, that was the end of the tour.
No way.
Yeah, man, it's pretty mad.
How did you end up coming to that spot and doing that? Did someone mention it to you?
No, because it's the Newquay Boardmaster, so loads. I think Pete Rigby tried it in about 2003, he was on I think he was on a thing with Dirty Sanchez and that. Rigby was a guy from Cumbria. He used to have a mohawk. He had Pete Rigby.
Is that footage of him trying it?
I've never seen the footage of him trying it, no. But he was the one who, opened the door to it. He never did it. I remember it was over the year before Frank Stevens tried it. Frank was kept running and jumping over it, and he landed on it a few times. And then I think a few weeks before I did it, Ollie Timon tried it and didn't roll it away. And then I'd been, obviously Newquay's just a mental one anyway, so I'd been on a mad one for it was the end of that tour, so it's been a mad tour. And then I think I've been claiming it. So, and then obviously you've seen the footage how heaving it was. I had to basically land it. Do you know what I mean? So it was. I claimed it and I turned up and there was everyone in Newquay was there. The roads were blocked off and all that. So it was pretty much had to do it, otherwise it looked like a right knob. Do you know what I mean? So it was, and there was money up for grabs as well, man. There was skin, so money always. It's always a good,
incentive.
Good incentive. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
That's mad. Yeah. How did you feel rolling that away?
Yeah, it was really good. And it was good because obviously I got the cover at the end of the tour. I got the cover of the mag for my second cover, and man, Silent World shot the photo, and it was it was a good night. I remember waking up. There's this dude on the ramp. He had the ramp in the bar. I can't remember, it was On the Rocks or something it was called. And I woke up and I think I'd passed out. Obviously, I got absolutely. There's some photos of me looking, hit. And I think Ross McGowan's in one of the photos and just looking at me. I'm just raging. Basically, I woke up and he's tied my shoelaces around the table. So I've gone to stand up, fell over, hit my face on the floor because I literally passed out. I'll never forget it. And the guy who owned the place, I woke up kicking off at him because I was obviously still pissed. And then he's I sobered up and I was I'm really sorry about that, mate. I went and got him some free shoes and that's a proper woke up to smashing my face on the floor and kicked off at the guy's place who it was. He just left me there all night basically. Do you know what I mean? Just went, we'll leave him there. Yeah, it was good memories, man.
That's quality. Slightly off topic, but Eddie brought up a story very similar to that, and he said he didn't know whether you knew about the story. Did you manage to listen to the Eddie Belvedere podcast?
I've not had a chance, but I think I'm gonna have a little listen to it afterwards. Yeah, I've not had a chance to listen to it yet.
I won't ask the question then because he dropped a story and he said he didn't know whether you knew. So that's one that you'll have to message me later to find out because it's hilarious. Okay. It's when you and Eddie went to London, apparently, and you were trying to get on... I can't remember if it was Blueprint or there was another board sponsor that you were trying to get on at the time, and you went down to London. But anyway, you've not listened to it, so there's a story in there.
Yeah, man.
And going back to the Boardmasters, that Boardmasters was around the time I'd started getting into vert skateboarding, literally dabbling in it when you've got obviously Sam Beckett, Paul Luke, Jake Anderson, all those people. And they did a Groms thing with Taz Papaz. And I managed to...
I remember Taz being there.
That was the same year. And I managed to somehow wangle my way onto the bus, even though I was 18, 19 and I was with all these Groms. And we went to Mount Hawke, and Jake Anderson came over to me, and he's like, "Rob, because it was the Vans demo at Mount Hawke, and we got there, and I was just having such a blast skating. And Jake Anderson came over to me. He's like, "Rob, the bus is leaving now. You got to go." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming." And typical me, I'm coming. Gave me 2 more minutes, and I went out to Mount Hawke car park, and there was no bus out there. And I was like, "Oh no!" And I went over to Powley, and I was like, "Powley, can I get on the Vans bus?" And he's just like, "Mate, our insurance doesn't cover it." I think he just didn't want me to be on the bus, really.
That insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, that's the excuse he gave me, and I was stranded in Mount Hawke. I managed to get a lift in the end, but.
What back? Because where were you living then?
So I had my car. It was in Newquay because it was the demo on Boardmasters right. When they had the vert ramp.
Right, yeah, I got you. You're flipping it, man.
Honestly, mate, it was crazy. Yeah, so I obviously saw you at Kerrang, I saw you at the Vans, and I always used to say hello and stuff, and we were social media friends. But I would say it wasn't until you moved to Devon that we started talking a lot more.
Yeah.
What have I missed out any stories in between Manchester and the Vans tour and then moving down to Cornwall?
Yeah, there's loads going on between then. There's a lot of years between the Vans. 2007, I moved. I was going down to Devon was like 2019 time, wasn't it? Like the
Okay.
lockdown. I was driving down to see my missus and that. Breaking the law.
Between those 12 or 13 years, what else had happened in between those years? So, when did you move back to Manchester?
It's probably, I think it was about 2008, I think that was. Yeah, moved back, 2008, moved back to Manchester, moved to Blakely, and I was obviously started doing Zuki stuff with Bomber. I was living when I filmed Keep Keen with Phil Harvey's video. Don't know if you've seen that one, Keep Keen.
Another one I need to write down now.
Yeah, check out Keep Keen, man. It's like got John Bell on it. It's got Chris Barrett, and it's got loads of heads on it to film that. And then I think after 2009, I went sofa surfing. So like, I just basically sold all my stuff in my house, in my flat that I was living in. I was just living out the back of my course. So I went and stayed with Christian, who does Spit and Sawdust.
Oh,
so
yes.
Went and lived in Albany, Cardiff. So I went and lived in his spare room, filming for that. That's what I call skateboarding. And then after that, the first big Supra tour came through town. Like, you know, everyone, Musker, Penny, Stevie Williams, Matt Mumford, Ellington, Greco. Bilal was staying at my house for like 5 days before that tour. I think Bilal had just he'd just come back from Australia. I think obviously he was in hospital and he'd come out of prison and that. And he came and stayed at my house for 5 days before that tour started. Bembo Dilly went, "Oh, can you look after Ali for a few days?" So, like, yeah. So that was pretty wild. So, like, carrying Ali back, carrying each other back. So we just went out and got mashed up. And then obviously I was on Vans then as well. But yeah, skated, did the tour with them. And then obviously after that first tour done, Vaughan got the job as team manager for Supra. So I left Vans and went on to Supra. And then I was on, you know, it's nearly like another 10 years I was on Supra for, do you know what I mean? It was 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, just like skating Supra. I think I went and lived at my mum's house in Liverpool for a bit. She got a flat in Liverpool, so it was like staying there. And I was literally just sofa surfing for a few years. I don't think I got a place for a couple of years, man. So I was literally just like...
Was that the first time that you met Musker and Ellington? And they're basically the Supra
Yeah,
team?
met them all on that first tour. And like,
That's sick.
Yeah, and obviously, and Lizard King, like, I'm good friends with Lizard through that, and yeah, that's why I left Vans as well. Like, I think at the time, man, I was close as I came to getting a shoe. Like, I was the designer at the time. The designer me, like, you know, you get your own sort of, like, your insole and that, like.
Yep.
But yeah, I basically, like, that never happened because I just told Paul that I'm going to skate for Supra because to me they're like all my heroes. Do you know what I mean? Penny, Musco, Mumford. You know what I mean? Like Supra, like was Stevie Williams and all that, and Greco, and so I was just like, yeah, left for Superman, which was pretty mental. I was gutted they're gone now, to be honest with you. It's like, it was, loved that brand, and like, you know, loved all the boys who were involved with it.
It brings me nicely on to who did you like look up to with your skateboarding when you started, and then maybe when you'd like started being sponsored and stuff? Who was your like idols, I guess? Who inspired you to skateboard? Like your favourite skaters?
Like I was skating like Tony De Silva. He's, you know, say he's a good pal. Like, he's an incredible skateboarder. Vaughan's always been a big inspiration to me. You know, Tom Penny, Musker, Frank Stevens, Alan Rushbrook, Alex Mole. Can go on, man, but those are the main ones for me. Like Rich Lewis as well. Like Rich Lewis is fucking good pal, and I always used to buzz off him when I was a kid. Mike Manzori, Baines, man, Louis Slater. Like, yeah, I remember like Louis come back from the States and, like, you know, the piss drugs thing was you know, all front, and met Louis in that. Like, one of the first times I went out with Louis, I got arrested in Chesterfield actually on a night out. Got caught. This kid called Shane walking back. There's like the party skates, the Netto car park with these flat bars. I remember like we were all walking back from the green room, and I thought it was a good idea to like steal a big no entry sign from this car wash. And literally within minutes of me ripping it down, like 3 police cars were like, it was like, yeah, caught literally massive no entry sign. Like, yeah, those boys, man, like, as I say, big inspiration, still are to this day. Do you know what I mean? Because those guys are still, you know, still having it, man.
I was going to mention, how was Ali Boulala because I'm guessing you saw him straight after coming back from Australia. How was he after the whole incident?
It was good. He couldn't skate, man. Like I say, I think his hips total, so he couldn't skate. So, like, obviously, we at that time it was, full on party time. So, I think his head must have been in a. It's when Instagram first started. Cause I remember, like, he was saving all his per diem up on the tour so he could buy a phone. That's when I first got on Instagram. So that's 2010, I think it was. 2011 maybe. 2010, I think it was the first tour was, or 11. Is it 11? One of them. It was when Instagram was first heard of it, and like say saving all his per diems up so he could buy a phone. Got us into Insta. Yeah, man.
He was saving up what?
Per diem, like that, per diem to get like, I don't know, 50, 60 quid a day. Given by a team manager to spend on food and shit.
With you, right.
Yeah.
Sponsored life, I don't get.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I don't even get. I don't know what I'm saying. Like per diem, I think it's called per day or whatever.
Right.
We used to get a little envelope with cash in for each day. Do you know what I mean? So
that's amazing.
We just didn't eat anything all day, just save our money up and don't buy shit.
With regards to pro skaters and people that you looked up to, you don't have to answer the second one. But who's been your like favourite person that you've looked up to or you've known about, and then you've met and has been an absolute legend and a laugh?
There's a few, man. But there's a few who haven't. I can't think off the top of my head, but the majority of the guys, the blokes I've met who are my heroes, sort of thing, have been bang on. Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna say Jamie Thomas broke me heart. Like when I was a kid, he wouldn't sign my board, and I was full on zero kid. Do you know what I mean? Absolute full on. Like when we first photos, I had a sleeveless Mr. Juve top on, but he didn't sign my board for what reason or other. But I just remember going home and ripping all the posts off the wall because he didn't sign my board. I was well gutted.
Wow.
And that was the Circa tour. Like that's gonna be like 2000 and probably about 2001 or something like that. When they went to the big Circa, the one when Musker was on it. They went around Germany and all that. The Transworld one when they were all on that tour. But yeah. So he was a dick.
Have you met him since?
I've never met Jamie Thomas. No, I've never met him. No. But yeah, when you're a kid, mate, like you just wanted your board signing, man, I was pretty devastated, should we say. So
you met him when you were a kid, but you haven't met him since?
No. He's probably a really nice guy, man. Like I say, he's still one of my favourite skateboarders, man. Like I just when you're a kid, I just wanted his signature, and like I say, I did go home and just rip all my shit off the walls, man. Like I was well gutted.
So that's what I mean. So you did meet him when you were a kid to get your board, ask for your board.
Well, the demo, the band on his one side. Mate, probably look at it now and the amount of kids that are shoving boards and like, do you know what I mean? He wasn't a dick, do you know what I mean? But like to probably about 14-year-old kid who wanted his board signed by his hero and didn't, it comes out in a total different way. But when I look at it now in the video, in hindsight, you're like, yeah, he's probably fucking sick of all these little kids, like in Bolton of all places as well, like flipping loads of little rats fucking banging the van, and they just wanted to get out there, didn't they? You know what I mean? So yeah, he probably wasn't a dick, but to me at that age, it was gutting.
It goes to show how such a little thing like that to him, like especially if you put yourself in his place and he's constantly getting asked for boards to be signed and stuff, he probably didn't think of it as much of like another kid asking for, I'm sorry, I can't do it at the moment, whatever. But
Vincent, he signed Misfits Jamie Thomas signature board. You owe me, kid.
But at the same time,
tell that story to Jamie, Joe.
He's going to send DM him this link to the podcast. But that's the thing, is it goes to show how as anybody, your mannerisms to people have such huge weight, and that's something that I've seen from like Lizzie Armento go into like Malmo, going to the Vert Attack, just seeing the way that her demeanor and like how she speaks to people, and like constantly been asked for photos and signatures, and just managing to like keep composure, I think is such a skill in itself,
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, like I say, I'm not saying, I've signed a few bits and had photos of people over the years and that, I've never say no to someone. You know what I mean? No, what Jamie Thomas is, do you know what I mean? Nowhere, do you know what I mean? But
well, I don't know. Newquay's leap of faith, I don't know.
Yeah, man, I'll take that.
That brings me back to that quite nicely, because I was going to say, how has anyone been there and measured the gap?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I do. I've been back a few times, as well. I say, because I live here now, and like when I've been there, and I do look at the run up, and I like, just look, would you ever do it again? It's like, no chance, man. Like, not a chance. It's horrible. It's just horrible. I mean, I did it. The floor's been, the road's been relaid now. Do you know what I mean? For the rollout, it'd be perfect. But when I did it, it was rough as toast.
For anyone listening that hasn't been there, it is such a big gap, a strange run up. I think you've got to ollie onto the curb, haven't you, to then go for it?
Run across the road from behind it, and then there's a big crack. There's 2 cracks, like literally. Now I think it's even worse. But
I've been to it, and I've looked at it a couple of times every time I go past it, because I love just looking at things that are just so unbelievable, like uncomprehendable to me. And I just looked at it and I was like, you're coming up to that blind. You can't see the landing. And it's on a downhill. You're landing on a downhill. Absolutely incredible.
About 5 quid up for grabs and on the skin. So it was, and there was shitloads of people there. So it was,
Has anyone done it since?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm the only one. I think a couple of people have tried it, but I don't think anyone's done it. I think Rain was tried to melon it after me, didn't he? And he took the slam after me. He tried it once. John Bell tried it a few times, but no one's ever rolled it away.
Amazing. Yeah, well, you don't get it in those. That's the thing with competitions. You get like a trophy, but with something like that, it's literally like it's like legendary now. It's just like people talk about it. There's no like physical Ben Grove trophy.
Oh, I got the cover, man. I suppose that's a bit of a trophy to it. Do you know what I mean?
That's a really good point.
My missus's grandparents were over from the States a few months back, and I wasn't with them. They were with the kids and all that. And there's this dude I met, Sonny. He's this Irish kid I met in Bristol, and he offered to take a photo for missus because the tattoo par's there. And he said something. He's like, "Oh, you're taking this for Ben Grove?" And Stacey's like, "Yeah, it's my boyfriend. It's my fella." And he's like, "No way, man!" You know what I mean? He's taking the photo. It's total coincidence that he's just walking past. "Oh, do we take a photo?" He's like, "I know Ben who jumped this." She's like, "Yeah, it's my fella and that." So Mrs. came back, told me that. I rang him up. I was like, "No way, but Mrs. I took a photo for him." And that. I was like, "Wow, pretty funny."
That's amazing. So it's 2019, lockdown. How did you meet your missus?
I suppose it was. I met her. I got a guest. Well, not met her. It was social media, Instagram, basically. I don't know how we got chatting, but I ended up getting. I got Liam Gallagher give me. I got a guest list for his gig at the Eden Project, and at the time, like, I was like, "Oh, do you want to go with me to Stacey?" I'd not met her, and the guy I was working for is like my little brother Jordan. Jordan's like, "Does that mean you're not coming to work tomorrow?" I was like, because I got these tickets for the Eden Project. So I was skint. I was like, "It's like, it's going to cost you a load of money to drive down there. You're going to have an hotel. There's no chance you're coming back in one day. You're going to go out to Liam Gallagher. You're going to get right on it." So basically, I never ended up going. So I never, I still didn't meet Stacey. It was like, I always say it's good pulling technique. Do you want a couple of guest lists for Liam Gallagher gig?
You got tickets through Gallagher?
Yeah.
You know him then, do you?
This, I won an actual competition on his Instagram. I met Liam. I opened. I know Liam like from when I lived in London, and I opened his Pretty Green store in Manchester when I moved back from London. I got a job working for Pretty Green, did the opening. I got sacked 6 days afterwards. The girl, the manager, Steph, didn't like me. But yeah, I met Liam a couple of times. But this was a total coincidence. Like I just thought, imagine. And I got a text message off his Instagram saying he won tickets, guest list for Liam Gallagher, basically.
No way. Sorry, going back to how you met your girlfriend. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the Boardmasters that got cancelled, so we were doing the ramp on the beach. The last.
Yes.
Came down. The festival got cancelled, and she came down, and we met down in Newquay, and like I say, the rest sort of history now. We moved to Cornwall and got an house, and living together with me and the 2 kids and that. Yeah, so it's
that's amazing.
Yeah.
How are you finding Cornwall?
It's rad, man. It's a lot different from Wythenshawe. That's the last place I was living in Manchester, down at the airport. Yeah, it's a lot different, mate. It's good. And
so now you've got like Eddie Belvedere down there. You got Vaughan Baker. You got Leo Sharp.
Yeah. Mate Warren's down. And there's loads of people, man. It's pretty mad. Good scene down here. As I say, just missed the streets a bit harder to do because I say I'm working all the time. Skating's hard to do for me at the moment, man. It's just pay the bills and got Mount down the road, which has been skating over a couple of, try and get there once a week. And I was filming with Danny Parker for a part. I've been filming for the past, since I've been down here, like from about a minute and a half footage, street footage, but it's old now. From having the skinhead to long hair, all the footage is like, you know what I mean? When we release a part, it's going to be like hair, no hair, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know if I'll ever finish it, mate. Just getting the time to skate, man, and film. It's a lot harder now at 38 than it was at 20, 21. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely, especially now that you've got a family.
Yeah, it's mental, mate. I never thought. Always. Yeah, it's a lot different, man. Always been out, always thought I'd just do what I was doing, living single, skating, doing what I was doing forever. Do you know what I mean? But no, it's the next better life, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's going up the stairs, man.
I think we've covered most of my questions. I'll hopefully get through these 60,000 questions on Instagram. I'll try and run through these in chronological order, as it were.
Quick fire.
Some of these questions are brilliant, and that's why I was a little bit stumped at the questions that I was going to ask, because a lot of people have just put in some really good questions. Right, I'm hoping that's the... Right, first of all, we've got our previous guest, Joe Hinson. He's asked for NAS stories.
NAS stories?
Any good NAS stories?
And what subject? NAS is whole different. I remember going to the first NAS when it was literally Lord of the Flies. I remember they closed the place down at 11 o'clock at night. Do you know what I mean? It was Lord of the Flies. No, big fires going on, security guards running that way.
I remember this.
So many, man. Most memorable one, I was with my mate Shotty Horror. He's a rapper from Harper, Manchester. And I come down, my mate Zeb Bias was playing, and Chunky. And I brought down the girl from Relentless. So what's your guest list for him, mates? Man, I had 20 manx. On this, they're all there in the car, they're all walking in. She was just so basically we had the caravans and everything got absolutely leathered. I woke up early thinking I'm all ready for the comp, and that I'm walking past and hear Ben Powell's voice going, "Scratch Ben Grove, last call." I was like, "What?" I ran in, I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And literally, I remember having to put my shoes on, do my run, literally no warm up, do my run. I got qualified, did my run, and did a big nose pick on the fence, and then literally just passed out on the floor. I think I qualified, but no warm up. Literally, just heard Ben's voice going, "Scratch him." I was ran in, and everyone's I was, just got out of the shower basically, but the time was wrong on the watch. I think that's probably the most memorable ones. Lots of other stories, hundreds of stories from that.
I think I remember that. I think I remember being there for that one. I don't know why, maybe not, but yeah, that's the top number one NAS story then.
Well, no, not really. No, there's loads, man. I watched Stella Soul with Reynolds. I think that was pretty good.
Oh yes.
Stu Graham, mate, the slammer, Stu Graham, flipping, you could hear a pin drop. You heard his head flipping hit the floor, and the whole place went pin drops. He did back disaster revert. I don't know if you remember that, mate, flipping smashing his head. There's loads, man. Like I say, just mentalness when the lights went off. It's carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, I remember that. They set fire to the tents, and then it was who could jump over the biggest fire, and it was just
Yeah, man. But like I say, security guards just running the opposite direction. It was proper Lord of the Flies stuff.
Next up, we got Skateboard GB's filmer, Jake Powell, has asked...
Yes, Jake.
He's asked, Northern legend, what does he miss most from living in the north of England?
Street skating and gigs. Gigs, man. Because you don't get you get lots of gigs down here, but nothing compares, man. I was out every night in Manchester going to all the gigs. I had the street skating, man. It's like I say, it's good down here, but it doesn't. It's not as good as just skating in the city all day long, skating around, because you can't do that here.
Yes,
I've been skating hills for the majority of it.
Different terrain.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Will Paris's response. He says, "What is your board setup?" I quite like this question.
Board setup: 139 Indies, 54mm wheels, Bones Reds. 825 board with grip tape on it and bolts, maybe bolts.
What? Dare I be a 6-year-old kid? But what brand are your wheels and your board at the moment?
Got the scum boards, so I have scum boards, wheels. I've always skated Spitfires, and dabbled with a bit of Bones recently.
Old School Paul was who was telling me about the pro on Blueprint and Unabomber. Old School Paul has asked, who is the best UK filmer you have worked with and why?
That's a tough one. That. I've worked with a lot, man. Obviously, Dan McGee's he's right up there, knows what he's doing, don't you? The old VHS, VX, should I say. I don't know, man. Yeah, Ben Powell, man. I'd say Ben Powell. Big up Stan, but Ben Powell's well better and more fun than you, mate.
Is that Ben Powell of the former Sidewalk?
Yeah, man. Uncle Ben's rice, mate. Ben Powell, Sidewalk.
I should have known that.
Yeah, Ben Powell's the Don.
Next up, we've got SMYGF, which is Sarah Porter's daughter. Says, and this is a great question that I should probably ask everyone. How has skateboarding changed in the last 10 years?
How's it changed? A lot. What are you wearing, kids? What the fuck are you wearing? That's the end of that question.
Brilliant. A one-liner. She's also asked, has it changed for the better?
Definitely fucking not.
All of us old guys are agreeing on that one, I swear. You don't remember the golden days? So many questions coming in for you, Ben. It was brilliant. Oh, we've got so many coming in. Next one's in from the Codeman92. How's his face after the Mount Hawk slam?
All right, innit?
For podcast listeners, it looks fine.
The beard saved me, to be honest with you. So, and that's why I shaved it off. Are you joining me now, are you? Okay. Right, out of my face, yeah, I shaved off the beard. I took a good slam on the old face, but I think because of the beard, it saved me. Right, otherwise, get off them, you. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's my wrist that got pretty mangled, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Nice. And he also says, why does he support Forest?
I support Forest. My mum married a Forest fan when I was a kid, so there's your answer to that one. So yeah. He's from Nottingham. Yeah.
Nice and easy. Joe Habgood74 has asked, is it true you are going to get a signature clothing line that was see-through and was going to be called Terry Tops Off?
It's in the making. I'm joking. Here's Joe.
Classic. Big Fat Mush. Stroudy, shouts to Stroudy. He was number 3 or 4, I believe, in the old episode line. How much did you hate Mark Churchill on the Are We There Yet tour from 07? He's even got the year right.
I hate Mark Churchill, man. He's a living ledge, mate.
These are great. Next one in again from Big Fat Mush. Least favourite thing about demos?
Least favourite thing about demos? I don't know, man. I love demos, man. I show up to the show. They have to show off to the kids.
I love that. I love that positivity in the demos line. Nicely on from the last question, or 2 questions ago, Churchill has asked, if you could only do one trick for the rest of your life, why would it be the nose pick?
The second word's off, Churchill, and it's kick flips, mate. I love a nose pick, mate. I love a nose pick, but I love kick flips as well. I love skateboarding. Love doing all the free tricks I can do. Do you know what I mean?
The kick flips. I have never mastered kick flips. I can do them. Sometimes I've managed to do them well, but most of the time not. And I always manage. I think it's because of my practicing the nollie flips and switch flips. But I can do switch flips better than I could do normal flips.
It's funny you say that, as recently, man. Almost switch stuff, finding a lot easier to do, like switch frontside flips and switch flips on quarters and stuff like that. It used to be the other way around, but now I'm struggling to do. So a switch or regs. It's mental.
It's like what you're used to, I guess. Next up, we got Base Menton the Hills response. It's a big mouthful. Why does Ellington and that call him the Edge?
The Edge. There's a spot in Manchester where the Aldi is. You'll see on. I don't know if you've seen Kendrick's video. Shads, a part that I filmed. Basically, it's like a big. I was trying to kick flip it. I ollied it and I back 180'd it. It's like a sort of massive drop. And Ellington and Lizard had just come out the edge of their eye. Ellington went, "Oh, come at the edge." the edge. Like, so when they're walking down, it's come off the edge and just flew out trying to flip this big gap, and like, that's where the edge came from, basically. So Ellington and Lizard King started calling me the Edge. That's where it's come from, man.
That's such a good nickname. I like that. He's also asked, or she has also asked, they, let's go for non-binary. They've also asked, favourite Oasis song?
Bring It On Down. Oh, definitely, maybe it's my favourite song. Uninvited guest that stays to the end. There's on my Pusher Man part as well. The last part on Pusher Man. Favourite Oasis tune, man.
With skate parts, I have always wondered, historically, did people just put them in until they get told off for putting them in?
What's that?
With regards to rights, because obviously, like, the bands get a bit funny with you.
I think when you ever get a cease or desist, the majority of the time, like,
people don't care.
People don't care, and I don't think it just goes that big, because obviously when these video parts are done, mate, they're coming on DVD or VHS, and you know what I mean. No one, it's a bit different now, isn't it? It's just loaded up on tomorrow's chip paper, innit? It's loaded up on Instagram or YouTube and that, and you haven't got anything. If you know what I mean, with a DVD or a VHS, man, you got something there. It's like having a vinyl or a CD or a tape. You got something there that forever, but online's just to me, it's just like it gets forgotten really quickly. If you know what I'm saying? Tomorrow's chip paper for chips anymore, but you know what I mean. Show my age.
So there's 5 more questions in on the wine club. Joe Hinson again. Does taking your shirt off make you land it?
Yeah, too right, man. Otherwise, you're gonna be in a lot of pain, aren't you? 100%. That's Frank Stevens, man.
You've definitely got an name for
Frank.
What's Frank doing these days? Is he still in London?
Frank, he lives in Ipswich in the Switch. I spoke to him not so long ago. I think, I spoke to him. It might have been New Year, maybe. I spoke to him. It's New Year, I think. Always random evening chats to Frank. He's good, man. He's still skating loads. He's always filming, man. I think he's the record for the most amount of skate parts ever filmed. I reckon, mate, that guy, man. He's banged out a lot of footage, man. A lot of footage, nice. Frank. Yeah. He's all good, though, I think.
Lee Blackwell, Lee Blackhell 151. What was it like being kidnapped by Blackwell in Derby to wake up in Ipswich?
I knew that was coming. That was the most random morning of my life, or whenever it was, yeah. I was in Derby the night out and I woke up in Ipswich at Blackwell's house. It was mental. Like, that was like, it was like you being left at Mount Hope, but about another 4-hour journey in between. Yeah, man, it was pretty random. Yes, Blackwell.
I got so much time for Blackwell. I need to get him on. Mr. Dobalina's question. Talk about doing the flavour gap.
The flavour gap.
I think we've already covered it. That's why I was trying to be careful, because there were so many good questions that I had to try and not clash them.
Yeah, mate, it was a pretty mad one. Like, add to that, I can't go into details, but basically I was with an ex-professional footballer, Keith O'Neill, who played for Northern Ireland and Wimbledon. And this dude, I remember it was like this American dude who was staying in our villa for about a week or so. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, man, nice to meet you and all that. And I came back, and I was like, Dave Allen was their team manager and that. And it was on Oakley days it was. And I remember coming back and did the rail and everything. And like I say, this Keith O'Neill, man, he was in his golf gear. He'd been up all night and everything. And this American dude who left, he's like, go do that rail bed. And I didn't have a clue who he was, but I later found out it was Kelly Slater. Yeah, best surfer in the world. I spent a week with him. Didn't have a clue who he was. And I asked my managers from Oakley, who was that American guy? Kept drinking all my beer and all that. And that's Kelly Slater. Who's Kelly Slater? I don't have a clue who Kelly Slater is. And they're just like, you're hilarious. And the best in that, obviously, that's how I found out who Kelly Slater was. So he went, go do that rail, and then I did the rail, and I found out afterwards that I've been chilling with him for a week. I didn't have a clue who he was. So, yeah, pretty mad.
So you pretty much did the gap for one of many reasons, being Kelly Slater?
Yeah, man, basically, yeah, he was, he told us, yeah.
That's classic. Next up, we've got Landslide Daz. Daz's response.
Yes. Yeah, man.
What are you going to do when the world runs out of vinegar?
Bury me. When the world runs out of sarsons, mate, I'm off. Get me off. I'm done.
What's your favourite dish? Is it fish and chips?
No, man. No, my favourite dish is Sunday roast, mate. Sunday roast.
Sunday roast.
Your
That's a golden.
mate. Yeah, man. Yeah. Grove roast, mate. If you're down here next time, mate, I'll cook you a roast.
Yes, I'm so keen for that.
I don't know if you eat meat. I made vegan Yorkshire puddings for Eddie on Christmas Day, and Eddie and Sarah from Eddie, Sarah Porter. Yeah, man.
That's
Made
wicked.
them. First time, yeah, I never made them before. Made them rolls and everything. First time, actually went a lot better than I thought it'd go. So yeah.
Final question, which I can't believe how I've just looked through. It's like been about 20 minutes of questions. Final question comes in from Better Gear Down the Merseys. What's the worst house you've kipped in?
The worst house I kicked in, the Haight House in Sheffield. There's a guy called Rob Haight, BMX of the NSF, Northern Street Foundation boys. They're all BMXers. And like, there's Supra, Jersey, all the BMXers, mate, in this house, the Haight House, it was called. You'd have to walk in and literally you'd have to sort of like brush the cans and all the fag butts and like sort of make yourself like a little, do you know what I mean? Like, it was absolutely angry. 100% the worst house I've ever stayed in my life.
Whereabouts was that?
Sheffield, top of Ecclesall Road. Yeah, top of Ecclesall Road. Spa.
How did you end up staying there?
My mate Dill, I hadn't seen him for years, man. I bumped into Lucian recently, my mate Lucian, who lives in Plymouth, who used to live in Sheffield, and he used to live there in the house, man. He was skating all of them, the rest of BMXers, and he's just like, yeah, it was horrible, that house, man. The Haight House, like it says itself, man. It was like, it was stinking. Good man.
Perfect. Right, Ben, I'll leave you to your evening. Thank you ever so much for being on the podcast.
Cheers, dude.
I haven't said, do you have any thank you shout outs that you'd like to do?
Thank you to all my mates, big shout out to Eddie, Vaughan, yourself, like all my pals, my missus, the kids. Bomber, go check the shop out in Camden if you've ever been. We've got a store just on the bridge in Camden, Scum Store. Just big shout out to everyone who ever helped me out in skateboarding, sponsored me, chilled me, had a beer, been my family. That's it, man, really. Do you know what I mean?
Is that store with the one with the mini ramp in Camden, is it?
No, that was one in Covent Garden.
Okay.
Closed that one. We've just got like a little store in literally just where the Holy Arms is and the bridge. You come out of Camden Tube Station, just down there on the right. We've got a gig. We've actually got there's a gig on the 25th, an unannounced gig by quite a big band that we're doing on the 25th of March. I'm not going to say who it is, but they're doing a big tour around the UK. But they rang us up. It's an American guy. Rang us up. Was like, "Can we come and do a gig outside your store unannounced?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, so yeah. 25th of March. Get yourself down to the Scum Store in Camden.
Brilliant. Well, Ben, I have to say, from meeting you in the Kerrang Jam, seeing you at I've already forgotten it. The Vans.
Are we there yet?
Seeing you at the Vans Are We There Yet tour. As we've mentioned, when I met you, it was amazing. You carry yourself very well, and it's been an absolute pleasure to get you on the podcast. It's been an absolute beast of an interview. Thank you to everyone for sending the questions in for Ben. I hope I got through them all.
Yeah, cheers for asking us. Appreciate it, man. SkateWine.
I'll be in contact for the roast, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. Oh, mate, 100%, man. More than welcome anytime, mate. Ever need a place to come stay as well while you're down here, man.
You're a hero. All right, Ben. Have a good evening, buddy.
Take care, man. Love you.
Cheers.
See you in a bit.
In a bit. Wow, that was Ben Grove, an absolute hero of mine from when I was younger. Kind of inspired me to get into street skateboarding a little bit. I was mainly a mini ramp skater back then in my Grom years. Absolute pleasure to interview. Thank you again, Ben Grove. We've got more interviews coming up. We've already interviewed the likes of Joe Hinson, Paul Luke, Eddie Belvedere. Eddie Belvedere's got a great interview. So if you've not listened to any of those, go check them out. Future podcast guests, hopefully, Sean Goff, Lizzie Armento. We've also got Tim off of Flat Spot magazine in Netherlands. So stay tuned. Thank you ever so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the content, give it a subscribe, I think it is. I'm not too sure on the old podcast game what it's called. It's not YouTube, but give it an old follow or subscribe or whatever it is on the Amazon and Spotify podcast. Give us a review if you have enjoyed it. It really does help us out. And Thanks again for listening. Episode 7, we are out. Ben Grove, absolute hero. Join us again for the Wine Club. Stay tuned for more fantastic skateboarding guests on the Wine Club.
Who you guys working for? Who is this?
It's SkateWine.
Oh, beautiful. Did you say SkateWine?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.